Hey, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to say, Call Halal Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakaha Kodash. That's all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, in the name of His only begotten Son, whose name is Yahweh Shai, and the name of the Holy Spirit. Right, I just want to do a quick video, man. Just looking at these things that are going on in the world, man. And you see, it's getting increasingly, we're getting more and more evidence every day. It's more and more obvious of the way the world's going to, man. You know, this digital system is really being pushed to the forefront, right? And I mentioned this the other day about these AI robots, humanoid robots being deployed in Ukraine, man. This is really just a testing ground, right? Let's listen to part of this video because there's something they say in the beginning that's also important,
Mustafa
right?
Suleiman is predicting most white-collar tasks could be automated within 12 to 18 months. He says that the shift is already visible in software engineering, as AI has already transformed the work by driving the next generation of robotics across industry and across defense.
Right, so, hey, these people are playing in the American people's face, man. This guy, Trump, was running on jobs, right, running on creating jobs for Americans. At the same time, he's at the forefront of pushing AI. And what is AI doing? It's taking away jobs from Americans, right? Because eventually they don't want anybody working. They want to institute a UBI, right? Let's get that. Let's look up that. Universal basic income. Right. So UBI is the unconditional regular cash payment delivered to all individuals within a community, regardless of income or employment status, aimed at reducing poverty and enhancing financial stability, right? And really, it's a snare, man, because once everybody loses their job, there's no more money going around, right? And you have to depend on the government. Guess what? Now they can implement what they really want. Right now, they can really go forward with their undertaking and get you with that microchip, man. Put a goddamn microchip in your hand or in your forehead, right? So let's get this in Isaiah 19, and where is it at? Right. This is Isaiah 19:4. It says, "And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts." Right? "And the water shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. And they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up. The reeds and the flag shall wither." Right? And let me see. It says in here, right? This is verse 14. "Yahweh hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit." Right? So the counselors of this land have become idiots, just dumbasses, right? Even from when you go from Biden to Trump, even back to Obama, Bush, right? They become more and more less crafty. You can clearly see what they're doing. You know, anybody with eyes to see can see that these people are full of shit, right? This system, it doesn't matter if you vote. It's set up so that the winner is always the elites. The bankers, the banking families, are the ones that set up this society, man. And what they say goes, right? Let's get this. And two horns like a lamb. Where is it at? Yeah, right here. Revelation 13:11. "And behold, another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and spake as a dragon." Right? The two horns like a lamb is going into the system, right? You got the House and the Senate, just like back in Rome. You got the Democrat, Republican. Right? It's to play on your mind. It's a snare to get you stuck in this system, man, believing that these people have your best interest in hand. But if you just follow their works, you look at their fruits, you can tell that they're trying to enslave ultimately the human race, but you Americans especially, right? They want you all, you know, tied into this beast system, right? They want you all marked and chipped so they can track you like cattle, right? Verse 12, it says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And what is this talking about, right? When you get the beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns, that's going to NATO and the EU, right? You got the 7 heads is Germanium Major, Germanium Minor. You got the Spanish, the French, the British, the Romans, and the Greeks, right? And it's gonna America's exercising the power of that first beast. This is Rome revitalized, reincarnated, right? We had the same type of government system, you know what I mean? The plebeians and the patricians. You got the House and the Senate now, right? You got the Caesar that rules over. You got the bread and the circuses. All these things, you even down to the sexual immorality. That's extremely prevalent here, right? It's nothing for a woman to have 10 baby daddies and she could have had 15, but she aborted 5 of the kids, right? It's nothing for people to like it talks about in, I believe, Romans, like men burning in lust one for another, right? That's popularized here, and it if you speak against it, you're shamed, man. We have this whole debate about what bathroom people can use. This is crazy, right? But that's the way that, you know what I mean, the elites, they control you, is through confusion. That's the greatest way to control the people, is by confusing them, right? Verse 13, it says, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, right? And what was that? That's talking about the really, they got these drones now, but really that's talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? Those nuclear destruction that they brought on the earth, right? Right, verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live, right? So the Roman Empire fell, but it came back, right? That's what it tells you right here in verse 12, right? Whose deadly wound was healed, right? And it talks about in verse 14 these miracles. Right, what is one of these miracles? This right here. AI-enabled humanoid robots. But the first point I wanted was back here in Isaiah 19 says, 19 and 15 says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or the tail, branch or rush may do, right? So this ultimately, they want you completely dependent on the government, man. They don't want you to have a job. They don't want you to have your own business. That's why schools used to be, geared towards getting you a job, right? You go to high school. Once you left high school, you're supposed to have a skill. You should be able to be a carpenter, a plumber, electrician, things like that, right? That's what shop class is for. But they phase that out of school. Why? So they can keep you in a dumbed down state, man. This place has no critical thinking, right? It's a shame. It's shameful to have critical thinking in America, to be a critical thinker, right? It's frowned upon. No, you should just follow what they say, man. That's how they want you living, right? And that's how they deceive you. And what was the first verse I read in Revelation 13 and 11, right? It says, and behold, another beast coming up out of the earth, and it had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spake as a dragon, right? They want you confused because you think that there's a difference between Democrat and Republican. Nah, man. What they ultimately want is a technocracy.
Humanoid robots emerging as the future of warfare. The U.S. accelerating AI integration into combat operations. San Francisco-based Foundation Future Industries is developing humanoid robots built specifically for military use. The company is also scaling commercial deployment across the country. In manufacturing, including in the auto sector. Joining me now is Foundation Future Industries CEO, Sanket Patek. Sanket, great to have you.
Right, so this man is being revealed, right? What's the point of these humanoid robots? Well, hey, when there's martial law, when there's a great insurrection, right, that we get here in, let's go to 2nd Ezra. Second Ezra, the 16th chapter. Let's go straight down here to verse 68. It says, "For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you, and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. And they that consent unto them shall be held in derision and in reproach and trodden underfoot." Right? So it's saying that, hey, man, certain of us are going to be, of the believers, are going to be, taken to internment camps, taken to concentration camps. Right? Verse 70, "For there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear Yahweh. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord." Right? So when the regular military refuses the orders to come against the American people, guess what they're gonna do? Deploy humanoid robots that are made specifically for war. Right? We've already seen these robot dogs. They've actually killed people with robot dogs in America, man. So now that they're sending these robots and putting them on the ground in warfare, that's the testing ground, man. Just like we see with ICE over in Minnesota, that's the testing ground. They're always going to test it first, right, to make sure it's up to par. All right, let's get this in 2 Thessalonians. Right. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." Right? And who's that man? It's Esau, Edom. Right? Because Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. All right, let's get this word. Oh, and hey, this is crazy right here. Falling away is apostasia, right? That's how you get apostasy. The word apostasy, right? A falling away, defection, apostasy, right? And what was that great falling away? It's when the truth wasn't being declared. You know what I mean? For so long, the truth was out fruit. Let's get that. I believe it's 2 Ezra 6. Right, 6:27. Right, it reads, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared." Right, and what's the truth, man? The true biblical Israelites are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Right, and we're seeing that Esau, Edom, the ruler of America, is the damn devil. Right, let's read on. Oh, I wanted to get this word for perdition, right? Because it talks about in Revelation 17, right? Let's get this real quick. So Revelation 17 and 8, it says, "The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is." What does that mean, right? Ask your pastor to break this down. It's telling you the bottomless pit right here, that's Europe, right? The beast is ascending out of that bottomless pit. It tells you down here, it says, "Behold the beast that was." Oh shit, slot. All right. Right, back in verse 8, it says, "The beast that was and is not and yet is," right? That's talking about how the Roman Empire, during this time when John the Revelator was speaking, the Roman Empire was ruling, right? It says, and is not. That means they fell, and yet is, right? That's the last days. That's this empire being reborn, right? That grievous wound that was healed, right? Verse 9, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, right? Because when you get up here, it tells you, verse 5, it says, actually, let me see, where's it at? Verse 3 says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Right? Jump down to verse 5. It says, and upon her head was written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Right? This is the whore that sits upon the beast. Right? And we just went through what that beast is. That it represents NATO and the EU today. Right? The 7 heads, I went through Germania Major, Germania Minors, the Spanish, the French, the British, the Greeks, and the Romans. The 10 heads represent the 10 common European markets. Right? What are the vassal states? Right, you get like the Goths. It's the vanguards. You know what I mean, so on and so forth. Right. Let's get this in back to verse 9. It says, and here's the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, and there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when it come, it continueth for a short space. Right, so. The five have fallen. 1 is. That one that is the Romans. The Romans were ruling during the time of John the Revelator. There's one that is not yet come, and it'll continue for a short time. That's the British, right? But then watch this. In verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Right? The last leg of Esau Edom's kingdom is America. Right? And to further prove that, we'll go here to Daniel 2. Daniel 2, and it tells you the 4th beast is Rome. Right? Verse 40, Daniel 2 and 40. And the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. Right? And it goes on, right? Verse 42, it says, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. What that represents, when the NATO and the EU, there's weak countries, there's strong countries, like the French. They'd never recovered since the Haitians, revolted and smited them through the tribe of Levi. Right? They did that. You know what I'm saying? So, right. So yeah, that the NATO and the EU, they're weak right now, man. I mean, there's parts that are strong, there's parts that are weak, but we know based on prophecy, eventually those are gonna turn against the whore, right, and gonna burn her with fire, right? But let's get back to this. Let me close it out. I gotta get up out of here. Let's go back to 2 Thessalonians. The whole point of this lesson, man, the wicked is being exposed, man. Right? Verse 8. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8 says, and then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, man. Right? And that's what this devil is doing, man. Lying wonders, humanoid robots. Right, we know where it's getting to, man. Eventually, they're gonna be putting a mark of the beast, a chip in your hand and your forehead, and they're gonna start persecuting people, man. You know what I mean? We're just waiting on that day. We're just waiting on that order to come out that the mark of the beast is mandatory, man. But until then, hey, watch and pray and be sober minded and be vigilant. Hey, till next time, hey, I want to give all praise, honor, glory to your heavenly Father.